down to, what we said before. We were talking about ego, and is the ego more likely to come out in males? I think that's definitely something that we should talk about.
Do you want to talk about that now? Is that what you're saying?
We could probably flesh it out. Yeah, we could flesh it
All
out.
right. I didn't know if you were trying to set that up for a future talk or. Okay. I know, because I am curious about that, because as I was kind of preparing for this recording, well, and just kind of the conversations that we've had that led to this recording, obviously the ego kept coming up more with your story than with mine, although ego definitely came into play in mine, no doubt about it. But I feel like maybe there is something to it that I think that men and women both have ego, but I think maybe we interact with it very differently, if that makes sense. Most women, although not all, but I would think that most women aren't looking necessarily for titles and bravado, and although there's a lot of them out there that are, but it seems like that's part of ego, is more of a male thing. And
I think so.
With women, it's more, I feel like it's more in what we are offering to others, or how we are helping others, like how we're taking care of our families, or like how we're contributing to our employer, and those types of things is where our ego will come into play, and feeling like we're not giving enough. Like I feel like women are always expected to give all the time, and so that's where our ego comes in and says, you're a woman, you're supposed to give yourself 100% to your family, and then if you work, you have to give yourself 100% to your work and 100% to your family somehow. So I think maybe that's the difference, is that for men, it's more about acquiring things like possessions or prestige or respect. And for women, it's more about providing things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
So it definitely comes into play of who we think we're supposed to be, but it's almost competing ways that it manifests itself.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I think I am curious to talk more about, and so maybe we definitely have an episode somewhere down the track on masculinity and femininity, because I don't know enough about it and I want to know more. But I definitely think there is a lot more egotistical tendencies in men, and I'd quite comfortably say that that's probably the cause of a lot of issues that we have today. Not naming any specific scenarios, but I think we just look at that and think there are a lot of issues at play in the world right now, and how many of those could be avoided if people weren't operating through that ego.
Right. And the same for women. I think there's a lot of problems caused by women spreading themselves too thin and not knowing what's more important to me, my family or my career, or there's other things, my friends, my social life, and trying to balance all of these things. And men balance all those things too, but it's just, I do believe it's different for women. And I think that spreading yourself so thin that you can't give your best self to any of those groups. You're giving only the what's left over of yourself to all of those groups, and that leads to a lot of problems too. It's not as obvious. Like the way the male ego manifests itself is a lot more obvious, but the female ego definitely has a lot of detrimental effects as well.
Yeah, definitely.